all at the same time. And the reason is da 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 da, or should it be dun dun da? The coronavirus. Yes, the COVID-19, which is actually a variant on the SARS virus. Did you know that? It is. Okay, and I can see on the video that it's not looking good, but that's okay. Hopefully you can hear me. So that's what's important now, and limiting all on what we can do. Things that I want to ask you about, but also I want to talk about it not from a psychological standpoint and not from the standpoint of anxiety and difficulties in being limited in your activities, but I really want to address the spiritual and energetic side of this pandemic. And you may not know, by the way, hi, I'm Susan Morrow Johnson. Find me on the web at mojomedium.com. You may not know that one of my gifts is as a medical intuitive. And a medical intuitive is sort of like a human x-ray machine. I'm pretty good at making diagnoses based on looking at a person's physical energy, psychically looking at it. And that sounds pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm sure you are stressed out, Sue, and that's one of the reasons I'm talking about this today. And actually, today is my day off. One of the things I do for self-care is I take Fridays off, usually. Do whatever I want. Read, watch TV. I go shopping today, and just do things that I want to do. Today's activities include rearranging my shoes so that the summer shoes are available. And also, let's see, what was the other thing I wanted to do? Some laundry. And, and I'm sure around. So that's what I'm doing today on my day Friday. But I wanted to stop in and talk about this because I really felt guided to. I felt like it's something that people need to be thinking about, and see what you think about this. So, like I was saying, as a medical intuitive, not only do I look at people's physical energy to see what may be going on with them, something they need to look at. As just an example, years ago, I told a client that I saw just a little bit of inflammation in her lung. And 2 or 3 days, she was like, I'm fine. 2 or 3 days later, she called and said bronchitis. So I was in that lung. Another hemisphere of her brain, and I said, I think you have a form of epilepsy. She did. She had it's not an obvious form. It's not like she had moments where she. Okay. So anyway, that's part of medical intuition. The other part is to look at the spiritual and energetic part or influence on the body when you have illness or injury. And I do this because in part of the way that I do this is what I've studied about the chakras and the energy, what people call the energy body. So that's what I was talking about with the physical energy both physically and psychically. And by that I mean that, like I said, I saw the inflammation in the lung. I saw the little blue flame in the brain. So I look at these things, and then I also look at the energetic part of it. So I know that's confusing, and I'm going to try to be. So let's look at this virus and what it's doing to the world. So in this case, instead of looking at one particular person who has a physical condition, I'm looking at Mother Earth. I'm looking at the entire of the planet. One of the things about illness and injury is that illness and injury are they are spirit's last resort in getting a message to us. For example, let's say that you are supposed to work on your relationship with your father. There might be an illness or an injury affecting the right side of your body, which pertains to your father, the divine masculine, and what you show to the world. Okay, so that's just an example to kind of give you an idea of how I look at these things. So there's a psychic component and there's a logical component. It is based in spirit and energy. Spirit's always communicating with us, always giving us messages that are intended to guide and help us. And our bodies are the last resort for spirit to get that message across. If you get the message after the illness or injury has occurred, in theory, at least, in my theory, it will heal better and faster. It's often too late. I find this with cancer patients, for example, or other terminal illness. It may be too late by the time you get the message for you to heal, because we have such a strong belief what the body can and cannot do. Hopefully someday that will change, but for now we have what we have. So, a lot of times as a medical intuitive, I work with clients on why they would attract illness or injury. And that means that communicating with you in this way, and what is the message behind this illness or injury. So now we're looking at a global illness, a pandemic. And so we want to look at what is the message from Spirit of us. Okay? We're not all sick yet. Maybe some of us will never have this virus, spirit willing. But let's look at what is the message behind it. Now, there are a couple of things that have, and one of them is, what if we all needed to take a break from life as we know it? What if all of us needed to reconnect with those closest to us? What if all of us need to reset? That would as a global community for it to happen. If all of us need to slow down and take a step back from the rat race, you've heard of the rat race, all of us out there trying to make money and hustle and making, and that true street, like we say in the country, it affects all of us. And like so many issues and problems, it affects the poorest of the entire planet most of all. In China, they seem to have gotten the spread under control. That's great. So what is that saying to China? We hunkered down. Talking about the Chinese people hunkered down. They limited everyone going anywhere. And so that got the contagion under control. That means the spread of the disease. Now they're still dealing with it, and they still have a vaccine for it. And as you probably know, with novel viruses, a vaccine is much more likely than a cure. And so while we're waiting a year to a year and a half for a vaccine to be discovered, tested, and widely delivered, we can look at what we can do in the meantime. So the Chinese, where they limited people to their homes, they had let's call it an advantage or an opportunity to stay home, to make home-cooked meals, to be with their family. That they hadn't been. One of the things that I have predicted, and this is both a logical and a psychic prediction, after we have all had to spend weeks to months in more or less isolation, how many new online businesses up in the next 6 months? How many new cottage businesses do you think will spring up? People sitting around at home, they're sewing surgical masks for their local medical personnel, and they go, I'm really having a good time doing this. What if I came up with maybe I could sell? Ta-da! New business. What about other things like when you're stuck in the house? Oh, I've just come up with the best game for rainy days. When your child is homesick from school, here's a great activity to do with them, especially if they're going to be home for a whole week. This keeps their learning going. If they're too sick to go to school but not too sick to sit up in bed, here's a great thing that you can do with them that nobody's ever done before. These are the kinds of things that come out of quarantine. If you just are sitting there twiddling your thumbs and wishing that you could get out of the house, or wishing that you could do more than go for a walk or go to the grocery store, if wishing that you could be doing something different, do something about it. Get creative. And so I think that one of the messages about this is to use your creativity. And yeah, that can be a creativity that's online. One of the ideas I had that I'm sure a lot of you have thought of, for my mom and her friends and her peers, they are all what you would call elderly. At the very least, they're over 60. Most of them are much older than that. So one of the things I thought of was, hey, I can open up my meeting room on Zoom, my Zoom room on Zoom meeting, and I can send them via email or Facebook messaging or text to my mom and her group of friends, and they can all jump on there and have a meeting just like they would in person, except they'll be online and isolated germs. So that's a very simple thing. Maybe somebody will come up with something that's a little simpler than Zoom. My mom has trouble using Skype. She's just not very good at it. And Zoom is a much better platform than Skype anyway, in my experience. So if I can just send her a link and then she can click to download Zoom, it should be fairly easy. Excuse me, maybe somebody will come up with an even easier thing where you just kind of dial 2076 and voila, you're connected on video chat with all your friends. Yeah, and there's WhatsApp too. So that's the kind of thing that's going to be coming around now. For example, my younger daughter is in college. Well, so of course the colleges are closed. The college has set up, all of her professors have been setting up ways for them to continue their class and education. Now then, what about, there was something else I was going to say about online. This is another idea that I had. And this is talking about getting creative, doing what you can do while we're all stuck in quarantine. Hi, Judy. Hey, how are you doing, cousin? So one of the things I was thinking about doing, and again, I was going to use Zoom, and using Zoom and YouTube at the same time, we could do a Zoom room, a meeting, and do online karaoke. So I go over to YouTube and search for the song in the karaoke version and play it, and somebody sings it. Or everybody can use YouTube so that the timing doesn't get off. And so we're all on a Zoom meeting. Screen. Here's Joe and Jane and Sue and Sam. And they go and pick out a song and sing karaoke. And that way we get to do karaoke, which just happens to be an activity I really enjoy. And you can get as drunk as you want in your own home. I sing without drinking, but that way we can have that fun camaraderie, but we're not in the same room. This may even be a way that's preparing us for a future of having stations on the moon and on Mars, where it becomes very commonplace for people to do karaoke and bingo and group activities. Church, you could hold church. Well, I guess you can do church without an audience. But anything that you need people to participate in, classrooms, colleges have been doing online classes for quite a while. People have been doing webinars for quite a while. Now we're coming into a place where, oh, let's do this, okay? Let's do there. Get creative and see what you can do with that. Okay, so I was talking about health and spirit. So one of the messages I believe is get out of the rat race, spend time with your family. Okay, that's a good one. Take a break. Don't be so all so rat racy. Don't be so anxious. Don't be so pressured to be busy and all the urgency. The other thing is rest. Jeez Louise, how much do we need to rest? I use, in my readings, I use angel cards, oracle cards by Doreen Virtue called Magical Mermaids and Dolphins. And one of the cards in this deck is rest. It says, you've been working hard, take a nap and get some rest. Well, when I see this card, I always say to the client, at face value, this is true of pretty much every United States. We are a nation of non-resters. The middle class especially brags about how many hours they work. I think the lower class, the working class, also, if they don't call it bragging, but they complain about how many hours they work. And we may sound like we're complaining, but we're really bragging. Oh my gosh, I had to put in 65 hours last week. Oh my gosh, college students, I had to pull in all-nighter so I could pass this exam. So we are like proud of not getting enough sleep. Do you know how important sleep is to your body and your mind and your soul? Sleep is incredible. I see so many parents who don't make sure that their children get enough sleep. It is so important for brain development and body development. It is important for you, even if you're not growing, even if you're an old lady like me. It is important for your cells. Every cell in your body needs rest. Needs rest to clean out and refresh and reproduce so that you can be healthy. Do you see how this virus, this pandemic, could be a message from spirit, and however you want to call it, God, universe, higher self, spirit, subconscious, universe, all that is. This is a message for you to rest. You need to rest. So take advantage of this time when you can't do any damn thing. Take a nap every day. Get 10 hours of sleep every day. If you're one of those people who just wake up automatically with the birds, try staying in bed a little longer or lie down for a while. Rest is so crucially important. Let's all rest. We need it. We need it very, very much. So there's another potential message from Spirit. Pull out of the rat race. Get creative. Spend time with your family and rest. Any other messages you think might be part? And I'm not talking about anything political. In fact, I ask that you specifically not talk about politics with this. But anything that you can think of that might be a message from Spirit. Maybe you think of it as being just for you. Well, this was something I really needed. I and couldn't get off work. And, even though I'm not sure how I'm going to make ends meet, at least I get to take a break. And I need this break. And oh, by the way, while I've been home, I've already figured out when I do go back to work, I'm getting a different job. So what are the messages that you feel coming from this? And think about be messages for you and how they might be messages for the world. Because when you look at a microcosm, like just you, just your household, or just your community, see how you can extrapolate that to apply to the whole world. Because is the world, right? We're all part of all that is. So these messages are for us. Now, the other thing I want to ask you about, since I've given you my big lecture, I want to ask you what you're doing while you are limited from your usual routine. If you are doing anything fun or creative, if you've come up with new or that's new for you, that you're enjoying. Tell me how much you're resting. Tell me what, like I said, what message do you get from this whole thing? When you stop to think about it, what is the message that you think is coming through from Spirit for everybody, the message in this pandemic? I am not going to say that the message is for us to stay away from each other, because I know, we all know that physical human contact is crucial to life. Without it, we die. So the separation from one another is temporary. It's temporary. Don't worry about that. We're going to get back to where we can hug and kiss people. Okay? In fact, I was just thinking this morning, I thought, when this is over and we're really safe and we can touch each other again, I'm going to go stand on a busy street corner and give hugs. I'm going to hug everybody. And I don't mean street walking. I'm not going to stand on the corner like that. But I'm going to go somewhere and just hug everybody, you know? And I look forward to that moment. I hope you'll do it with me. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here. I really do want to know how you're doing. Also, if you are feeling particularly anxious or upset or worried, let me know about that too, because I want to address that again at some other point. And you know, joys shared are doubled and sorrows shared are halved. So let me know, put it here on the Book of Faces or here on the podcast comment. And you think the message is. Very good. So until next time, you may know me as Susie Kendall. You may know me as Susan Morrow Johnson. There was a time when people just called me Susie Morrow. It was one word. So I am also MoJo Medium. Find me on the web at mojomedium.com. And I hope you're having, regardless of what you are doing. Thanks for listening.